Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle a term you hear all the time, but let's be honest, might not totally get the cloud. We're going to demystify it for real. So, have you ever heard those acronyms IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, and just kind of felt your brain shut down? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. The crazy thing is, you're using the cloud constantly, every single day, when you're streaming movies or working on a shared doc. So, let's connect those dots. All right, to slice right through all that tech speak, we're going to use something super familiar, making a cup of coffee. Seriously, this analogy is going to make everything click about what's happening behind the curtain of your favorite apps. Okay, so first up, let's see how the fundamental cloud models work by comparing them to the different ways you can get that daily caffeine hit. All right, let's start with the old school way, on premises. In our coffee world, this is you doing everything. I mean, you're growing the beans, you're roasting them, grinding them, brewing the coffee, the whole shebang. It's just like running your own data center. You've got total control, but you've also got all the responsibility and all the cost. Now, let's jump into the cloud with what's called infrastructure as a service, or IaaS. Think of this like buying roasted coffee beans from a store. The really hard stuff, the farming and the roasting, that's already done for you. You just handle the fun part, the brewing and serving. So you get all this flexibility to make whatever coffee you want without having to manage the entire farm. Okay, want to make it even easier? Let's talk about platform as a service, or PaaS. This is kind of like using one of those super fancy coffee machines where the beans and water are already loaded up. All you got to do is push a button. The cloud provider gives you this ready-to-go platform so you can just focus on your creation, your app, not on maintaining the machine itself. And then, the absolute easiest option, software as a service, or SaaS. This is literally just walking into a cafe and buying a latte. Everything is done for you. You just kick back and enjoy the final product. We're talking about things like Gmail or Dropbox, right? You just log in and it works. Simple as that. So let's just pull this all together for a second. As you go from on-premises all the way to SaaS, what you're really doing is trading control for convenience. It's a spectrum. You go from managing every little thing yourself to just letting a provider handle it all. And look, each model has its place, right? Whether you need that raw, nitty-gritty hardware control you get with something like Amazon EC2, or you just want the instant gratification of an app like Gmail. Okay, so the coffee analogy, super helpful for remembering these models. But let's be real, the cloud isn't just about brewing coffee. It's about what you do with that coffee, right? It's not just about the how, it's about the what. What can we actually build with all this incredible power? Exactly. The real magic isn't in the brewing process. It's about what you can create with that energy boost. The real power of the cloud is what it lets us build on top of all these different service models. So in this next part, we're going to see how these service models become the launchpad for these absolutely world-changing applications that are shaping our future as we speak. You know this whole AI revolution we're living through? It is built from the ground up on the cloud. This is the insane, scalable power that lets us do these mind-blowing things, like generating a high-quality video from just a text prompt, or creating photorealistic images with tools like Imagine, or even building AI agents that can run complex parts of a business. And here's the cool part. A lot of these amazing AI tools are delivered as super easy-to-use SaaS applications, which were built by developers on powerful PaaS platforms, all of which are running on massive global IaaS infrastructure. See how it all connects? And this isn't just about some cool tech demo that you see online. No, real businesses are getting huge benefits from this. Take the Radisson Hotel Group. They used integrated cloud AI tools, and it slashed the time and effort they needed to roll out a new solution. That is the real-world impact of the cloud. It's an innovation accelerator. And guess what? That acceleration, it never stops, because the cloud itself is always evolving. Yeah, the story doesn't just stop at IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. The cloud is on this constant quest for more efficiency, more abstraction, which brings us to the next massive shift, serverless computing. This visual here really nails the difference. See on the right, in the traditional models, you still have to think about and manage servers. But look at serverless on the left. All of that just vanishes. Developers get to focus purely on writing code that does stuff, that responds to events, without ever having to worry about the servers it's running on. Okay, so the name serverless is, I admit, a little confusing. Of course, there are still servers. You just don't see them. You don't manage them, the provider handles all of that behind the scenes. But the real game changer here is the pricing. Instead of paying for a server that's just sitting there waiting, you pay only for the fraction of a second that your code is actually running. This is a huge leap in efficiency. It unlocks these incredibly scalable, event-driven applications that just weren't even practical before. But, there's always a trade-off, right? For all this amazing efficiency, you get something called a cold start. Basically, if a function hasn't been used in a little while, there's a tiny delay the next time you call it, while the system kind of wakes it up. It's a small price to pay for the massive cost savings, for sure, but it's definitely something developers have to plan for to make sure you get a nice, smooth experience. Okay, so here's a really crucial point. While the cloud makes so many things way, way easier, it does not get you off the hook for all responsibility. And this is especially true and incredibly important when we talk about security. The best way to think about it is like renting an apartment in a really high-security building. The landlord, that's your cloud provider, they're responsible for the security of the building. We're talking about the locks on the main doors, the security guards, making sure the building itself is safe. They secure the physical data centers and the core network. But you, the tenant, are responsible for security in your own apartment. You have to lock your door. You decide who gets a key. You secure your own valuables inside. And in the cloud, that means you're the one who manages who can access your data. You set up your own firewalls, and you're responsible for encrypting your sensitive information. It's a partnership, a shared responsibility, and it's absolutely critical to get it right. This whole cloud thing feels so modern, so cutting edge. But to really get a sense of where we're going, it's actually fascinating to look back at how it all began. The core ideas, they are way older than you probably think. Right, the journey to the cloud wasn't some overnight success. It's been in the works for over 60 years. The seed was planted with this incredibly bold prediction way back in 1961. The roots started to grow with ARPANET, the forerunner to our modern internet, in '69. And then a key piece of the puzzle, the virtual machine, was popularized by IBM in the '70s. That really laid the foundation for everything we have today. And this was that prediction. Way back in 1961, computer scientist John McCarthy described almost perfectly what we now call cloud computing. He said it would be a public utility and that you'd only pay for what you actually use. I mean, think about that. He saw our present over half a century ago. His vision became our reality, which of course leaves us with one final, really exciting question. What on earth will the next 60 years bring?